around an organization, or the exact distinction between an organization and non-organization. They have read the Saussure, obviously. We are dealing with empirical phenomena, and the world has an uncomfortable way of not permitting itself to be fitted into clean classifications. It's all very good, but already in 1993, well, already, in 1993, they see fit to insert actually a definition of organizations, probably because they see what is happening around them. So they are saying organizations are systems of coordinated action among individuals and groups whose preferences, information, interests, or knowledge differ. But, as you can easily check, by that time this is too late. There are very few authors, among them Taylor and Van Every in 2000, who do speak about systems of coordinated actions. Everybody else is speaking about systems of mechanical or organic parts, in which people are either cogs or body parts, hands and heads, you know, the old Marx things. So organizations are already made into objects. And no matter how much they protest, the golem is well built already. Well, one could ask the question actually whether it's a big problem, this reification of organizations and building of the golem. One could ask whether, you know, whether golem was successful in defending us from the enemies, and whether it has any consequences for the practice. Well, it is, I think, an interesting question to ask if organization theory did actually help to reify organizations. Taylor and Gerd say that the business schools create organizations. I do agree with them, but what I'm not sure is whether business schools teach organization theory. Recently we had a seminar at my school in Gothenburg, and Mary Jo Hatch claimed that fewer and fewer business schools teach organization theory at all. So one can say that even if business schools create organizations, maybe it's not exactly organization theoreticians that contribute to that. But I propose a compromise. Even if it's mostly practitioners and consultants who reify the organizations, who actually use the golem for various purposes, organization theories did collaborate in this effort. So perhaps what I think, and actually I think I'm reflecting in part what your vice rector said in the introductory talk, that perhaps the organization theory should join the resistance movement and help to destroy the golem, even if it contributed to creating it. But of course, I can hardly be the first, claim to be the first who has noticed this, both the reification and the need to sort of to look at it differently. Almost immediately after this introduction of system theory happened, the protests started as well. Let me mention some of the historical precedents, as it were. Maybe the most obvious and the most startling and the still provoking a lot of protest is the garbage can model. And observe that it's already introduced in the behavioral theory of the firm in '63, when Syed and March are speaking about firms as coalitions of multiple and conflicting interests, far from being objects with clear boundaries and sort of unified and indivisible objects with boundaries. And then, of course, Coe and March and Olsen develop this idea and do a simulation of a garbage can model of organizational choice, where they say that organizations are simply kind of containers where the decision makers, problems, solutions, and decision opportunities meet and mix almost randomly. So the point is that organizations perhaps are best seen as organized anarchies, where preferences are problematic, the technologies are changing and unclear, and the participation in decision-making and in other processes is fluid. Of course, one of the arguments against the garbage can, this sort of dirty and disorganized model of organization, was that March and Olsen was speaking about universities, that the universities are the only organization which are anarchic, because everybody else is properly organized, but only we don't know how to do it properly. Okay, you can have your opinion on the matter. But you know that. I mean, it is a famous model. It's very well known, but it's very little applied. With some sort of, papers and works going into it. Why it's so little applied? Is it too complex? Is it too anarchic? Interesting try, but the system theory idea went farther. Most of you here is too young to remember, but one of the most popular textbooks that was published in the 60s, more specifically in '66, it was a book by Katz and Kahn called The Social Psychology of Organizations. It was a great hit. I personally translated it into Polish. It was even East Europeans knew it. Everybody knew it. It was like telling us what to do, how to do it, and and what's it all about. And then in '69 already, but practically unnoticed until '79, comes a book by Karl Weick, playing on the same title, but this time is The Social Psychology of Organizing. Weick based much of his work, his ideas, on the work of F.H. Alport. And the basic idea is that organizing is exactly the process of assembling, he used it then already, assembling ongoing interdependent actions into sensible sequences that generate sensible outcomes. You can see that making sense is coming in already. But this very idea that organization is not a thing, it's not a box, it's not an object, but it is just this, interlocked cycles, which, he says, can be represented as causal loops rather than as a linear chain of causes and effects. And then, very much like Jim March, he introduces the idea of loose couplings, and he goes against the prevalent idea that the main enemy of organizing is uncertainty, that uncertainty should be reduced, removed, targeted, that this is the main enemy of organizing. Both of them, but Weick very clearly, say that organizing is an ongoing encounter with ambiguity, ambivalence, and equivocality, part of a larger attempt to make sense of life and the world. It will not go away. As to uncertainty, the old saying, the old European saying was that there are only two things certain in the world: state, railways, and death. And now, as you know, railways are private, so it's only death that remains. So then comes later a very, very welcome addition to our ways of understanding organizations. And this is thanks to our colleagues at Science and Technology Studies, who were not interested in organizations at all, but did organization studies nevertheless. But what was really, for me and for many of us, very important was this putting Gramscian's narratology at the service of understanding how the social is assembled. I know I'm risking my head.